form this relationship with the client from the time that they come in to the time that that car leaves.
Some of these relationships they have are long-term relationships.
It's similar to a marriage.
It's something that you think about when you're going to bed at night.
There's a lot of give and take.
You know, you make that commitment and that's it.
It's the first thing that comes into your mind when you wake up in the morning.
How much time and effort you put in is exactly what you'll get in return.
The relationship the client has with their vehicle is very much like a marriage.
There's highs and lows.
It's all about the satisfaction that you're going to get of a job well done.
The relationship we have with Gil and Linda and the vehicles is like a marriage.
That relationship the client has with that vehicle, we share that with them. So we're both married to the ride.
Gil and Linda are married to the rides.
Most of our business is about car shows and showing the cars, and I know a lot of the clients like to take them out, go to the cruises, go to the actual, you know, they have larger car shows that are annual, that give out these amazing trophies, and the accolades are nice, and, you know, a lot of social media presence. Mainly the goal is to try to get a lot of these done, you know, before car show season if they're larger restorations. Our 37 Chevy truck is an example of one, and he dropped it off, you know, kind of middle to the end of show season, but it wasn't in show condition whatsoever. But we wanted him to drop it off at that point in time, so we were able to get it back to him, you know, in the spring, in time for him to be able to take it out when the things start really picking up again in May. We have our work cut out for us, that's for sure. But I'm definitely up for the challenge, and it's kind of a cool project. We haven't had anything like this in the shop, so I'm looking forward to this one, and the client already knows what he wants, which makes it that much easier. It's gonna stay that same period correct, that nice blue color with the 4 black fenders, just like it has been traditionally, and to be able to work on this and to just have something that's so clean and classic and iconic, really. I mean, if you think about it, it's a nice mix-up for what we normally do here. He already has the wood done for the bed, which is nice. It's like a darker brown, but it's gonna be everything. So we're doing the wiring. He did have the motor rebuilt. He's keeping the original motor, so we have to get that started. You know, finish up the brakes, fuel lines, exhaust. So it's a complete build. It's a complete build for sure, but it's also one that you have to be mindful of, because you have to make sure that you're getting everything that you need to have it period correct. So this should be an interesting one. I think it's gonna be fun, and it's nice to have something like that in the shop. I mean, not that I don't love the resto mods, but at least I know everything's gonna fit in this one. So it's a good deal. I'm excited about it.
Getting these show cars ready for show season takes a lot of coordination. So wintertime comes along, it's our busy season. So we have to get the cars in, timed right, in order to have them ready to go come spring for the first show of the season. Case in point, we have 2 big builds going on this time of year. We have a 1970 Cuda and we have a 1955 Chevy Post car. Both getting show quality interiors, both here at the same time, very similar colors. Got to get them done just in time for show season. So first up on this 1955 Chevy, we're going to have Ryan get in there and start dismantling the entire interior. So this was previously a show car. It's coming to us for a refresh. So there's a full custom interior in there. So Ryan's got to get in there, figure out how things come apart, and get it completely stripped out.
What we got here is a 1937 Chevy pickup truck that just arrived. We've gone through some of the parts so far to inventory, find what we have, what's missing, what's usable.
It's somewhat done. It did come from another shop.
It's had quite a bit of work done to it.
And we're gonna kind of pick up where they left off and bring it home for the customer. He's so excited.
A lot of metalwork's been done to it. Still a lot more to do.
It's a classic 1937 pickup, and that's exactly where we're gonna keep it. So we wanna sort of take inventory, so to speak, you know, literal and figural, of what it is that we have to work with, and then we'll start the metal work. So I'm really curious what Bob has to say about this, because I know just from my untrained eye that we have quite a bit of metal work to do. Thankfully, he's now here full-time with us. He's an amazing metal fabricator, and I know he's going to have some things to say about this truck.
What I initially seen was on this fender, there was quite a bit of patches. I'm not sure if they couldn't find, they couldn't outsource new fenders or used fenders that were in better condition, but this actually has patches, multiple patches all over the fender here. So if we can find a better one, find an aftermarket one, find something, this customer kind of wanted to keep everything as original as possible using original parts. So we're going to try and do that as best we can. A lot of the fenders are in pretty rough shape, most of them. We do have one replacement fender. We'll see if that's salvageable now.
Tackle that first, get everything, all the fit and finish dialed in as far as the metal work's concerned, and then after that, Koba can start the body work process on there.
The next step is I'm going to assess the worst areas, the biggest problem areas, and start from there. I do want to put the entire vehicle together and figure out, again, what's missing, of course, but also find out if there's a spot structurally, first off, that needs to be addressed first before I go ahead and go any further. I know the cab's been worked on extensively. The back panel of the cab's been replaced. There is a bunch of patches in there, so I want to start from the frame up, basically, and figure out what needs to be started with first, what needs to be worked on first.
So once we have it all together and we've assessed where we're at, we'll start taking everything apart. We can inventory the rest of the items, and then we have to come up with a real big game plan here of how we're going to tackle this. Metal, body, we got the whole team going. And at the same time, I'd like to get some of the mechanical going as well, so we can just bring this home for the client. It's been a long time coming for him. Nothing to do so much with us, but I really would like him to be able to drive this and enjoy it, within a year or so.
So our newest arrival here at the interior shop is Ted's 1970 Barracuda. And I gotta tell you, this is one of the most iconic muscle cars of that era. And for me, I'm excited because typically we work on Fords and Chevys, and very rarely do we get a Mopar roll through the shop. And 70 Cuda is definitely iconic. And the color on this thing is absolutely beautiful. And I'm excited because Ted's letting us take some liberties. We got some great things planned for this one. We just went over everything, so we're excited to get started on this, and I'm sure the rest of the team's gonna love this project. So on this 1970 Barracuda, Guido's gonna be doing the headliner. Although it's a hung headliner with the traditional bows, it's a little more challenging because we're using Alcantara suede, which doesn't stretch like the original vinyl. So he's got to make these patterns exact and lay the lines down where they need to be, because there's not going to be much room for error. So it has to be exactly where it needs to be, even including around where the windows are, where you're going to start to glue into the window channel. So there's a lot of calculation involved, there's a lot of pre-fitting. But once it's in there, it looks beautiful. That Alcantara headliner always sets the tone for the rest of the build.
Today I'm working in the 70 Barracuda. I'm doing the headliner. I just finished to put in place all the bolts in the car. Now I have all my measurement. What I'm doing right now is all this measurement, I got it here. And then I had to transfer all this measurement I have, I got to transfer here and the material. I'm using the suede. This is a really expensive material, really nice material, the suede. Once I finish the tracing the line here and the suede, I gotta move to the sewing machine. I gotta stitch.
So along with this 1970 Barracuda, the client, Ted, dropped off a ton of boxes. And they're very meticulously labeled. He gave me spreadsheets, he gave me box numbers and parts that correspond with those box numbers. So if I didn't know any better, I would think Linda was behind this, because it looks very similar to those kind of notes over there. So I don't know if she's working behind the scenes, telling people to give me spreadsheets, because she knows I love that stuff. But At least it's organized. We're going to go through it, make sure we have all the parts, and whatever we're missing on the spreadsheet or in the box, we'll go ahead and get that taken care of. So this 1970 CUDA doesn't really have a lot of fabrication because the rear panels and the door panels are stock and we're just wrapping them in leather and suede. One of the areas where we do have a lot of heavy fabrication is the package tray. So Tyler's going to have to go ahead, make a full package tray that lines up to the side panels. We have to cut in a section for the subwoofer that's in the trunk, so we want the bass to go ahead and travel through that kind of ported. We got to make some speaker grills, and all that has to line up perfectly to the side panels. To add to the challenge, we want the polished trim that's going to be on the rear panels to travel all the way through, including through the actual package tray. So not a lot of fabrication on this project, but what we do have, there is quite a bit involved. So it's trunk time on the 1970 CUDA. As you can tell, we got the paint protection tape all around the body there, so Tyler can go ahead and get started laying out the trunk. What we want to do is bring some of the element of the package tray and parts of the interior into the trunk area. So you'll notice the back wall will kind of carry that theme of the center of the package tray. And on the side, we're going to go ahead and kind of give that grill effect, which will be inlaid with the Alcantara later on when it's wrapped. So again, we're kind of keeping the theme of the interior into the trunk. That way it's cohesive, and when you look at it, it displays well.
So today I'm working on a 1970 Plymouth Barracuda, and I'm actually just outlining the trunk, building basic frame for our trunk build. Pretty much just make it as simple as possible, give yourself a nice structure. That way you can build off of it, you can add any cosmetic, flair to it that you'd like to. Just as long as you have a solid base, that's basically where you should start.
Today I'm working on this 1937 Chevy pickup truck. I've been working on it for a fair amount of hours now. I've actually got quite a bit done. I started with the grill here, and I made sure the vehicle was leveled, first thing you do, and then made sure this is in a position where it's supposed to be, tightened everything down, and then I basically started from the top down. This part here, made sure that was level, the top surface area here is level. I had the hood on here. The hood fits properly. The bottom edge of it was completely rusted. It was completely rotted through. Pieces were missing. This thing was pretty much this. I had to repair 90% of this piece here, which actually came off the vehicle. The whole bottom edge of this inner structure here was completely rotted, as well as the side pieces of the radiator. Basically, I only had pictures to go by. So, judging by the pictures and judging by parts I do have, and a good starting point, I'm able to build off of the parts that I do have to reconstruct what the bottom looks like. Unfortunately, with a 37 Chevy pickup truck, not a whole lot of parts available. They do sell this piece aftermarket, but they only make it in fiberglass, and that's just not going to work. It's metal. It's got to stay metal. If you're going to do it right. Onto this fender here. This fender has been heavily repaired. I think the only part of it that's actually original metal is just this strip right here. The previous person that was working on it, that initially did the metal repair, actually made this part here in sections. These are very unobtainable. It's very hard to find 37 Chevy fenders, so he obviously couldn't find any more, so he had to do this. It's not bad. I've seen worse and I've seen better, but I'm going to try and salvage what I can here and try and make this fender look like that fender. Being that this thing is probably made in 6 different pieces, I was expecting all sorts of scar marks from welding and lumps, and someone had put a big layer of body filler over top of it, so I was kind of expecting the worst. I got it stripped down. I'm just basically bumping out some low spots and knocking down some high spots. But yeah, whoever did the work on this fender did a really good job. So it's pleasantly surprised. That never happens. It's usually I usually find a nightmare underneath something, and this is probably the first time it's actually, I'm happy about it. So it's less work I have to do. Originally, it has this lip here, and then this lip is actually supposed to round over. It crimps over, and that gives it its strength and support. Without it, when it has nothing right now, you can see it just kind of flops around. On this one over here, with the original round over, it's very stiff. It doesn't really move. You know, it gives it its structure. To replicate that on this side, I'm actually using 1/4-inch round bar and welding it to the outside edge to mimic what the factory did originally, and it's the same diameter, and it gives the exact same look, and it's probably the strongest way to get this fender to work the way it's supposed to repair it properly. Now I put a brace behind here just to stiffen this up a little bit. Now, although it shakes, this part doesn't suck in, doesn't move in very much. I'm going to go around, and after I finish bumping out the high and low spots, I'm going to start doing measurements. Go over the other side, see what the measurements in certain spots are, and then mimic them over here. I want to make sure this crown is correct. I want to make sure it's the same width. I want to make sure this lip is the same distance as the other side. Especially the front, when you're looking at it from a distance, if you're up close to it, you really can't tell. But if you're a good ways away from it, you can see if there's a difference in an angle on the left side as opposed to the right side. So I want to mirror and mimic exactly what the other side is telling me to do.
So today on the 1955 Chevy, it's completely gutted. So now it's time for Guido to get in there and start working on this headliner. So he's got to make all his measurements, he's got to stitch it up, and then he's got to install the headliner. We're going with a nice, beautiful Alcantara headliner to complement the smooth kind of saddle color leather. So next up on the 1955 Chevy, it's time to wrap the dash. This is a hard wrap, meaning there's no padding on it. So Guido's got to get in there and make sure the pattern is a direct fit to the metal dash. So that requires using some clear vinyl. He'll glue it, he'll get it lined up nice, and then he'll take that, stitch it up, and then comes the task of installing the dash. So it's a very meticulous thing. He's got to lay down the seam first, make sure it's straight, and then he's got to stretch it and get it installed and laid down nice and smooth, no wrinkles. All this while the glass is still in it, inside the car. It's not like a piece you can have outside the car and wrap. He's got to do all this work inside the vehicle.
Now that the metalwork is all dialed in on our 37 Chevy truck, everything is all set to go, so Bob's going to be handing that over to Koba to start working his magic and sculpting what's going to be a beautiful truck once the paint is laid down. And it's always fun to just watch him. He really gets into it. Next steps, once all the body work's finished, we'll obviously put it all together, make sure all the fit and finish is set to go, and then it'll be off to Jay to get some primer on there. We're just doing the 1 coat of poly primer on the truck, and then once that's done, we have to separate the pieces. It will be 2 different colors, so we have to make sure that we get it right.
Yeah, Kobe just basically putting a skim coat on the hood. It was in pretty good shape, he's just getting it so it's completely flat and level. There are a couple low spots, and so he's finishing up that. And once that's done, we can get all these parts to high build primer. Get them going out there.
This is pretty much a straight hood, but he's got little imperfections, let's say like this. When we spread the plastic on top, he covers all that low spots. And then when we're sanding with the straight block, he takes extra out and leaves on low spots, he leaves the plastic on. That's how we get the flat and straight surface.
So we've been working on this 1937 Chevy for quite a while. We got the majority of the parts finished. All the metal work is done. Just finishing up the body work. I actually have just one piece left on the body itself to finish up, and then it's ready for primer. Once it gets back, it's going to sit for about a month to make sure everything's cured and shrunk and down to where it needs to be, and then we'll sand it. And as we're sanding it, if we find this much material, this much surface area, there's going to be imperfections. So as we're sanding it, we'll find those imperfections and fix them as we're going. So once it's all said and done, it should be pretty darn close to being perfect.
Our 37 Chevy pickup, original restoration, mind you, not resto mod. All of the metal work is complete. Bob has finished all of that, so most of the body work is done. Koba's actually just doing some final bits of body work on the hood. And then next after that, it's gonna go off to Jay for its poly prime. And I have to say that this went, fairly quickly for the amount of work that was actually required. There's so many pieces, and this being an original restoration, you can't really find parts for this. So you have to be creative with the parts that are left, and Bob, being the metalsmith that he is, really did a great job at fixing a lot of the pieces that were in the front end that were either missing or looked like somebody gnawed on them. That's the best description I can give. And then obviously, Koba comes in at the end, with his amazing body work and it's like watching a sculptor, honestly. Like I could sit there for hours and just kind of zone out and watch him, but I can't. I have work to do. And he did such a great job, and the client's very happy. He's been here for a couple visits throughout just to see the progress. And it's going to be sitting for about 4 weeks after the poly primer. You do want it to cure, you want it to shrink, you want to make sure you catch any imperfections, because it's going to be a dark blue paint color with a little bit of a pearl. And then the fenders and the running boards are black. So you definitely want this to be spot on perfection, mirror finish, and that's really our goal right now.
So on this 1970 Cuda, for the seats, we're going to go ahead with that smooth grain leather, and we're going to go ahead and complement it with an almost color-matched Alcantara as well. So we're going to use the Alcantara sparingly, just kind of in the insert area. For the most part, it's going to be that relicate leather around the edge, and then we'll go ahead and color match the thread. So single tone, but we're going to mix it up with different textures. So it's seat time on the 1970 Cuda, and for this project we're going to have Sammy and Julio team up. We've tasked Sammy with doing the front seats, getting those all set. They're aftermarket bucket seats, so he'll have to pattern those out, stitch them up, and then at the same time Julio's going to go ahead and tackle the rear seat. Now this vehicle was tubbed, so we couldn't use the original seat frame. So once again, Julio's going to have to start from scratch, make the bases, cut the foam, sculpt it. At that point, he can go ahead and make the patterns and stitch it all up and get it installed. We're looking for a nice tight fit, so we're predicting on the slap scale number 4 on this one. Show season approaching on this 1955 Chevy. We got quite a bit done. We have the headliner installed, the dash is in, we have the front and rear panels all wrapped up. So now next is the package tray and the rear seat. So we're tasking Julio to get in there, get the package tray placed in there properly, and then he's going to have to start making the rear seat. So he's got to make a base for it, and he's got to get the foam all set. So that's what we're up to right now on the 1955 Chevy.
Our 1937 Chevy pickup, metal work has been done. Bob did a great job at getting that set, not just the cab and the doors and the bed, but so many other pieces, with the older trucks of those years. And Koba did all of the body work. It came out immaculate. It just looks absolutely beautiful. It's been primed, blocked down, and now we are doing the first phase, which is the blue. It's going to be a traditional 37 Chevy color combination. So the cab and the bed and the top part of the nose and the front will all be blue, and then all 4 fenders, the running boards, and there's like these little filler pieces, and those will be black. So we'll do the blue first, and this way we can put that together, because then the black pieces all go on afterward, and I don't like to have painted pieces hanging out. So as soon as we get them, I like to put them right on the truck. So.
Got the 37 Chevy all sealed. Take about a 15-minute flash cycle. We have a nice brand new GM Silverado blue that the client picked out. It's a beautiful color, pearl, metallic. It's going to really pop out in the sun. We're going to get our base all mixed up, reduced down, start spraying. Okay, so we got the 37 Chevy all based out. Looked over it one more time, everything looked good. Got some DC 4000 clear coat here, ready to start clearing. Okay, we have our 1937 Chevy pickup truck. It's all been painted. It's completely painted, blown apart. We have about 40 hours worth of paint work into it. Bodywork was beautiful. Panels were all nice and straight. It's a newer Chevy blue, GM blue on it. Fenders, running boards, were all black. You know, traditional blue and black paint job, but with the newer Chevy GM blue. It's a metallic pearl. When the sun hits it, it pops beautifully.
So our 37 Chevy truck is done with paint, and Bob is assembling it as I speak at this point. And you know, just getting everything set. We had sent the bed rails out for powder coating, so we got to get all that put in, all the wood. The wood was already done when we received it, and it's then it's off to Hank to start doing all the wiring and all the not so fun, but maybe not so fun stuff.
So I had a special visit this week from Paul Puza. I know it's very early to start thinking about it, but he came by to work on a few things, personal stuff for him, but he was mentioning Syracuse for next year. And so this year coming up, we're gonna be able to get a bigger spot. Okay. We're gonna be able to have 3, maybe 4 cars there. He's gonna set us up really nice on the corner there. We'll be actually right next to Ed Beard, who we met this past Syracuse, which he's a phenomenal artist. And I can tell you, like, that whole weekend, his van had so much foot traffic, this Dragon van. I mean, it's all airbrushed. He's got thousands of hours into this thing. I mean, he talked to me about it and went over the whole thing. And the most amazing part is, like, he's got so much hours into this thing, he drives it everywhere.
Well, I mean, if you're going to put those kind of hours, you want to take it out, you want to show it off.
Yeah, I mean, this thing is like a billboard of art, and so it'd be great to be right next to him. I mean, we made a great connection this past year. He's actually a really amazing resource for any kind of airbrushing. Plus, I mean, he does help out a lot with the Brush Fest, which we're gonna be a part of again. Well, we'll sponsor the shirts again, so I think it's just a great opportunity for us to be there, support fellow artists, and
you to be there, because you know I don't go because somebody has to stay back and work and run things.
You know, not all heroes wear capes, so you know, I appreciate what you do.
Do you?
I do.
Liar.
It's the Syracuse. So day 2 of the Syracuse Nationals, and we're here with Ed Beard. So Ed, What do you think of the show so far?
Well, I've never been, and it's incredible. I mean, this is way beyond my expectations. This place is huge, and I think because of the good weather, we're going to see 8,000 to 12,000 cars. That's insane.
Oh yeah, this reminds me of one of the biggest years. We've been here like 14 years already, so this is definitely, day one, Friday was the busiest Friday we've seen.
Weather is magnificent. Yeah. That makes a big difference. So, and of course, I'm here for the Brush Fest, which we're raising money for the Ronald McDonald House, and already yesterday, I think in one small day, half a day, we raised $12,500 for the kids in the Ronald McDonald House. So that's a huge thing. And with the crowds as big as they are, we may even set records in raising money. So that's good too.
Yeah, I was talking to Paul earlier, and he said that was the busiest day one that they've had. So that's
Absolutely.
huge. I mean, that's really what it's all about here. And that's
yes,
what
indeed.
Brush Fest is about. So
yeah, and we've got amazing talent. I mean, all the best in the industry are here. 60-something artists here in one gathering. That's something I haven't seen. This is like the legends of craftsmanship that are here. That's what's so cool about this.
Yeah, Howie's our go-to guy. He's kind of our local guy.
Yes,
so,
yes.
We can't keep ignoring this van behind us. So, I mean, you got to tell me about the van.
The Dragon Lord, yes. So this, I'm not kidding you when this sign says it's Ed's daily driver, never trailered, 96,000 miles. It's true. Ever since I painted this in 2012, you're looking at the paint job. I've only cleared it one other time, just before we were at SEMA in 2018 with this. It was PPG's featured vehicle. And it is my daily driver. It's themed because I was at Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering, and I've been illustrating for fantasy art for 35, 40 years. So that's the theme and the reason it's like that. But it tells a story about the creation of dragons from the Dragon Lord, which is up on the visor. It was a 2000 Dodge van that I built after I used it. We bought it brand new as a cargo van. We beat the crap out of it. It was rusted out. It had a deer had hit that door. That door was trashed. And we rebuilt it from scratch up and then told the story and painted it. It took about 600 hours to paint the thing, drawing it out and everything. But yeah, it's on the road all the time. We travel all over the country with it because if you don't drive it, no one sees it.
How long have you been airbrushing?
Since 1979, I went into business self-employed in 1982. So this is my 42nd year doing nothing but art in either the automotive or the fantasy art industry. And congratulations on your show, Married to the Ride. It's fantastic.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So remember, whether it's restoration work or vehicle maintenance, GCD Auto Studio is the place to contact for all your classic car needs. We'd love to be married to your ride as well.
Like this show? Want more? Then head to WatchPTTV.com, the new 100% free PowerTube TV streaming network. Home of the best classic and new motorsports racing and build shows on the web.